I'm gonna look at Rosemary T differently from now on. So I saw Crimson Peaks last night. I wanted to review it, but just didn't have the time. Power was out and everything, all this stuff. But anyway, I'm reviewing it now. Even though I'm in, I just came from an event, so I thought that technically it kind of works just with the costume design. So Crimson Peak, it's a movie about not what you actually think it is. It's not. If you think this is a scary horror movie by Guillermo del Toro, it's not. It's a gothic romance by Guillermo del Toro. Now, in most instances like this, I would be happy to be surprised that it's not the film that I went to watch. Like The Grey, I was expecting some stupid action movie about fighting wolves. In the end, I actually got a very poetic story. And so I like movies that surprise me. This one surprised me, but not in a very good way, unfortunately to say. The costume design and the whole overall atmosphere of this film is very good. It's very chilling. Everything from just how the house, the whole Crimson Peak house is made, to its hallways, to just the design of the ghosts was sweet. Kind of this mix between a spirit and a corpse, and I thought that was so well done. The only issue is those aren't the main parts of the story. It's a romance between Mia, whatsoever her name, and Tom Hiddleston, and then his sister, played by Murph! Now, I say that because every time I see Jessica Chastain now, I think of Matthew McConaughey from Interstellar going, "Don't let me leave, Murph! Don't let me go!" So, unfortunately, I have that kind of thought of her. Now, the thing about Guillermo del Toro is he has these great ideas. He has these great sort of setups for his films, and the guy has the creative mind, like an amazingly creative mind. Pan's Labyrinth and Hellboy have more than proven that this guy has a very interesting, slightly twisted mind, but it's beautiful what he can show. And the thing that I was thinking of when I was watching this movie is what would happen if he had an amazing cinematographer like Roger Deakins work with him. Because as great as his ideas are, the films aren't really shot that well. They're shot very, I don't know, very standard-like. There's no real whoa shots. Like in all of Sirico, the whole time you're just like, wow, that shot looks beautiful. Wow, that shot looks beautiful. Imagine if we were to have something like that with Guillermo del Toro. That would be sweet. So back to Crimson Peak, though. The film moves very, very slowly. While we're getting introduced to these characters, some of them are very interesting, and the aspects of kind of a turn on late 18th century, early 19th century life was interesting. The problem is you're constantly overthinking what the movie is actually doing. Like right when you get introduced to Jessica Chastain and Tom Hiddleston, they're kind of talking in whispers. You're like, whoa, are they like witches or warlocks? No, they're not. When they get to the house, you think that, whoa, is the blood like the ground, like is it like haunted ground? No, it's not. Are these like corpses, like ghosts and monsters that are in the house? No, they're not. Unfortunately, all of these aspects that you get from the trailer, and not just from the trailer, in the movie, the whole time you're watching it, you're like, this is gonna happen? Oh no, it's something much more simple. That was my biggest complaint with this film, is you have such an amazing setup, such an amazing atmosphere, such a really freaking creepy and amazing looking house. And what do you do with it? You turn it into a romance movie? Now, admittedly, it's not pure just romance, but there's nothing really to it. There's nothing kind of different from this film. And when the film was finished, I just sat there and looked at the screen and said, if there was one movie of 2015 I could never care to see again, I would rather watch awful movies than this one, because it is so predictable. Everything that happens in this movie is beyond predictable. Right up until the end, you know exactly how every little thing is going to play out. There's only one surprise, and it's kind of how, okay, there's a certain scene where a person is stabbed, and he's stabbed in a place right here where they should be dead, and he doesn't. And then another one gets stabbed very simply, yet he dies. That was Again, I really like the atmosphere of this film. I like the idea, and again, Guillermo del Toro has totally surprised me. With Pan's Labyrinth, I totally thought that was going to be about a girl going to a mystical land. It was, but it was also about the Spanish occupation during the Second World War. That was sweet. That surprised me. Crimson Peak, again, it's a surprise. It's not what I was expecting, but the problem is it doesn't intrigue me. The whole time I'm just sitting there thinking, that's it? That's what you thought of? That's your grand idea. What the hell? Wow, that's boring. Essentially it. This movie isn't really that scary. It has some pretty cool it's got some great characters in it. These characters are interesting, but the problem is they just flow out in this very formulaic fashion that you're just like, okay, I know what you're gonna do, I know what you're gonna do. And the whole thing about this movie is the ghosts. Now, the ghosts are sweet, but the fact that she can see them, the main character can see them, doesn't play into anything, really. When you actually think about it, the fact that she can see ghosts has no effect, really, on the story whatsoever. When you actually break it down, there's nothing that contributes to her seeing ghosts. Because right at the very beginning of the movie, we get this story from her mother saying, beware Crimson Peak. Why? Why do you beware it? Did you see into the future? Why would you be able to see in the future? What connection does your mother have with Crimson Peak? Why would you get this very ominous warning? Like, okay, we're already given this shot at the beginning of the film that is obviously near the end of the film. We're already getting one foreshadow. We don't need another foreshadow and another foreshadow and another foreshadow. So in the end, my rating for Crimson Peak, it's a 3 out of 7. Because while I bemuddle the story and I bemuddle how predictable it is, I can't deny that this film was very well put together. I really liked the costume design. I like the atmosphere. Again, Guillermo del Toro, you're sweet at atmosphere. Just get a really good DOP on one of your movies, man, and you'll be golden. My own mind is my worst enemy for this film because constantly so much imagery in the film is like, why is that a point? There's no real point to this because we're not going in that direction. So why are you teasing something to something that won't actually appear? So in the end, that's what I thought of Crimson Peak. Some people I've seen really liked it. Others have thought it's kind of a bit of a disappointment, and I will admit it's a disappointment, but I don't know. I'd rather see that than Paranormal Sucktivity.